What up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, and Costas. And we got a special guest today, also from the Premium Takes podcast, our guy, Zion Zenith, our fellow horseman. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the real deal NFC East round up. Punch that intro. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan, and it is my guy, super dope co-host Adam Costas, and we got Zion Zenith with us as well today. We're going to talk about a lot of NFCs, talking a lot of the coaching carousel that's going around. But how you guys doing today?
Well, I'm on a roller coaster of emotions, Mac. A roller coaster of emotions right now. And I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. I don't know how Zion's feeling, but I know that I am. If you're talking Six Flags, there's a ride at Six Flags called the Nitro. It has an 80-foot drop. Right now, I'm at the top of that drop right now because that's what I'm looking at. And I'm about to peek over because every minute you're checking your phone. I don't know if I've been on Twitter this long about some news. So here I am. But anyways, Zion, what you got for us? Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely, boys. Thank you so much for having me on. PT will be back eventually, but I know you guys are getting locked into the NFC East roundup every Wednesday. These boys been delivering. Thank you guys both for having me on. And like Adam, I'm itching, resetting my phone, resetting my Twitter. We have him in the building, and we'll see what happens. But I know this is the NFC East roundup, so like Max said, we have the Eagles to talk about. So I would love to get into that game. But thank you guys so much for having me on. Right back over to you, Mac.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all good. We're gonna just like you said, we talk about it's a real deal NFC East roundup, and we did have one NFC East team that actually played a game this past weekend. The defending Super Bowl champions, who are no longer defending that title, Philadelphia Eagles, hosting the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday, man. And it ended up being a fairly overall decent game. Part of what was an amazing wild card weekend, I might add, man. I mean, I don't know if we had as good a wild card weekend as this that I can remember. This was pretty awesome, like pretty amazing games all weekend long, man. But up to them last couple, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, these some good games, and the Eagles played on Sunday, hosting the 49ers, which has been. Two teams that have built up quite the rivalry over the last couple of seasons, man. And this time the 49ers got the best of them, Adam, man. What was your thoughts on what you saw out there Sunday and about this Philadelphia Eagle team, man?
Well, first I want to pat you and I on the back for going against the grain and picking the 49ers, because at first it didn't look like it was going to be a good game. All these injuries, everything like that. And then, boom, the 49ers go right down the field and score a touchdown. You're like, damn. What is happening? And then they lose George Kittle. And somehow, like we said, what happened? Second half comes around. Eagles looking good. They're doing trick plays, getting in the end zone. You're like, oh, shit, maybe they found their shit. Guess what? They're fraudulent. They've been fraudulent all season. They're fraudulent today. And that's why they're out, because of fraudulentness. And what I tell you, I said to Mac last week, I said, maybe they should have played their starters because they have trouble on the offense. Oh, but we're cool. We're the defending reigning champions. We don't care about the second seed. We don't care about this. We'll take a rest. Well, guess what? You didn't show the fuck up. I don't care if your body's fresh, Saquon Barkley and Hard Knocks. I don't give a shit about that. I give a shit about going into the playoffs. You know what the 49ers did? They played their fucking hearts out against Seattle. And they knew, being that was the top seed, they were still fighting for something. So they come in to Philadelphia, a place they've had some success before, and they knew what it was. They get into a fight at the beginning of the game, basically, talking that trash. They were not intimidated at all by this team. And let's be honest, you could say what you want, the defense did what it needed to do for the 49ers in the second half. They basically, Robert Saleh, hats off to him, had a great game plan. They shut down that offense. And you know what I want to talk about? These Eagle receivers basically letting the season slip through their fingers. 2 major drops. A.J. Brown not laying out for balls, catching balls bouncing out of his hands, getting to a fight with the coach. Goodbye, A.J. Brown. If I'm an Eagle fan, I don't want that guy anywhere near my team anymore. He can go somewhere else. Go back to Tennessee. Go to New England. Go someplace else. Don't bring that nonsense here because you saw they can blame the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is not the man out there making you make plays. He's out there calling plays. You need to execute the plays. Whether or not you like the guy, fine. And if you were a great quarterback, you would say, fuck this play. I'm going to call whatever I want anyways. But he doesn't do that. And then when your quarterback, who wasn't terrible, but puts the ball in your hands in key moments of the game and you don't come through, that's terrible. And to me, the Eagles went out on a whimper. They came out strong. But like I said, and do I think that playing last week would change anything? No, but the mindset is what we're talking about. Going in there, letting these guys know you don't deserve to fucking sit. You don't deserve to be there. You deserve to keep playing. The last game they played before that game was against Buffalo, and they scored, 14 points or whatever it was? 13 points, whatever the hell it was.
I think like 13 points or something like that,
yeah. Right. And then you come out against Washington and get beat down by a team that had nothing to play for, and they beat you with the 4th string quarterback, not even the 3rd string quarterback, the fucking 4th string quarterback. Okay, guy who's not even been in the league. They pick up Josh Johnson and he beats you. So now you're going in all high and mighty defending champs, and you can't beat a team that barely has a fucking roster. They're on their fucking 4th linebackers, okay? They had Eric Kendricks. That guy played for Minnesota. Guy's been in the league for how long? He comes in and makes a play of the game at the end of the game. They had some linebacker named Wallow, who I've never heard of in my life, playing fucking middle linebacker next to this guy. And you couldn't do shit? You couldn't do a damn thing? Like, what the fuck are we doing? You know you're going to wallow in? You're going to wallow in your misery for the next fucking 9 months. That's what the fuck you're going to wallow in while he's shaking ass over the divisional round. That's what the fuck he's doing. And don't think they're not going to go in there and do something. They're gonna put up a fight because that's what the 49ers did all year. 12 wins. This is what me and Mac talk about with fucking records right now. Okay? This team, 12-5, had to go to 11-6 team over in the East. Might as well fucking made it 49erville because it's so fucking loud in there with the 49ers. The NFL needs to redo this. You can't have this bullshit happen anymore, especially a team that earned it. Make the record matter. Make the record matter. Because a team like the 49ers should have had that game at home and should be going to the divisional round to the higher ranked seed. But for whatever reason, they didn't. And here they are putting a mud hole in the fucking 49ers. You had 2 interceptions by your fucking star cornerback. You couldn't do shit with it against Brock Purdy, who threw balls like he was a fucking backup quarterback. I'm not trying to rant on the Eagles because they're not my team, so I shouldn't be ranting about them. But I'm embodying. If I was a Philadelphia fan, which I am clearly not, and they can go kiss my butt cheeks, okay, right now, this fucking team, they got what they got. They fucking deserve to lose. And what they need to do is they need to fucking get rid of Sirianni, reset this motherfucker, because they got a lot of shit they got. They owe the most money in the NFL. Okay, you hired all these guns to be a dynasty. You know what dynasty you are? A fucking no dynasty. You won 1 Super Bowl. You've been there. You could have been a dynasty. You didn't care. You know what you did? You had a fucking guy reading a fucking book on the sidelines last year. It doesn't matter. He's cool. We're cool. Guess what? That motherfucker, I don't want to hear anything about A.J. Brown anymore. I don't want to hear anything about the Eagles anymore. Their time is up. Like John Cena, their time is fucking up. I don't think they're ever going to be where they were at this moment. And they can thank the 49ers for sending them on their way on the golf course with the rest of the fucking Giants, the rest of the fucking NFC East. And I got stories for you later, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Zion, take a breath, Adam. Take a breath. Zion.
I don't know how to follow that, really. Bravo, Adam.
Can you any thoughts on what you saw in the game? Any thoughts on the Eagles as their season came crashing to an end?
Absolutely love it. Fuck them birds. And I will say this though, I didn't really watch the game. I got my in real life friend Morco. Thank you for coming to the stream. Great 49ers fan, and he's going to root for his team for the end. everything that Adam said was absolutely facts. You know, when you talk about AJ Brown complaining on the sidelines, then when you finally get the opportunity, you can't come up with the butterfingers of hands. You know, we look at AJ Brown in recent years as this elite top 5 wide receiver, and I'm not sure if you can look at him the same way. Adam talked about reading the book on the sidelines. I thought that was hilarious. Going into the full game, what I seen in the highlights is you know, like I said, I didn't watch the game. I was at work. But that being said, you got to prepare for a Kyle Shanahan led football team. I mean, like, this guy comes from legacy. His dad has one of the most profound coaching trees in all of the NFL. A lot of respected coaches come from that tree, and yet alone his son. Now, you look at his son, he's always, like Adam said, he's always going to have his team prepared. You look at the defensive side of the ball, they was completely shattered, out one of the best middle linebacker in the game, out multiple pieces on the defense, out multiple receivers, injuries in and out the whole season. But again, when Kyle Shanahan leads the team, you know, he leads the team to win, to play physical, and when they're in the playoffs, don't take them lightly. I was rooting for them, obviously, being a Giants fan. I wanted the 49ers to kick the Eagles' ass. A lot of 49ers fans that I was talking to, you know, was kind of worried about this game because the Eagles, you know, when the Eagles show up, they show up. But when you look at the Eagles lately, it's just all over the place. We talked about this last year on Premium Takes. Yeah, we can't put Jalen Hurts in the top 5 a quarterback. Yeah, he had some moments in the game, what I seen on highlights, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, and at the end of the day, he has a lot to do. When I look at Nick Sirianni, this is what I disagree with Adam on. I do think that you don't fire the guy because he can't go out there and he can't catch the balls for his players. I think he's a good coach. Yeah. That's good. I do think he's a good coach, and I do think that, you know, if he does lose his job, if they do let him go, he's obviously going to get a job like that. But I just think that you with the market cap, Adam made perfect sense on that. To follow that, it's like, you know, my best friend growing up in Hawaii, he's a diehard Eagles fan. We barely talk, but when we do, you know, he always talks about bragging about the Eagles this, the Eagles that in recent years. And I tell him, okay, you guys better win that fucking Super Bowl, because in a couple of years, you guys are going to be in salary cap hell. You know, this team had the foundation of a dynasty, and it's just. I'm happy that it's fell short. It's like the Cowboys talking all this shit about going to the Super Bowl. The last time they went to the fucking Super Bowl, I don't even think compact disc was around. That being said, though, like, I just happy that they lost, and I'm happy that they're in salary cap hell, because they gotta pay a lot of people, and yeah, you can call Howie Roseman a genius and a cap wizard, but guess what? It's all fucking catching up to you guys, and guess what? Once we get our head coach in the building, and once we get our fucking defensive and offensive organization and our staff put in place, guess what? We are on the ascend. Well, those motherfuckers are on the decline. Shout out to Joe Ferris. Thank you for being here today, and shout out to Daniel, my boy, always coming in. I appreciate always seeing you. He's like one of our day ones, always in the stream. So special shout out to Daniel, and of course you, Moiko. Thank you so much for that comment. Let's get it back over to you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much covered everything, but yeah, just to reiterate, like, some of the points, man. This Eagles, it's all about the offense, man. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, this Eagles defense, it did its job. I mean, what more you want to? I mean, Kenyon Mitchell with the 2 big interceptions, like, the fact that the Eagles, you did nothing with those. That's got to be frustrating to what is a phenomenal defensive unit that the Eagles have. I mean, their defense was rock solid once again in this game for the most part. You know, doing their job, doing what they needed to do, but it was the resiliency of the 49ers was different here, man. Like, it's just the resiliency of this team all season long. I mean, we talked about all the injuries that they had coming into the game. We didn't even talk about the major injury they had that happened in the game. I mean, George Kittle going down, tearing his Achilles, probably won't be ready for the start of next season. And it's just this 49ers team still finds a way to overcome all of this, and they have been all season long. Like you said, you're talking about your 2 best players on defense out for the year and have been for weeks. Brock Purdy, your starting quarterback, missed substantial time all season long. You just got Trent Williams back. That was his first game back last week against the Eagles on Sunday. And then you lose George Kittle, you know what I mean? And then the receiver situation, I mean, I barely even know who those guys are. It's just a mess over there. Right. From you look at it from the standpoint of their roster and the makeup of their roster, but yet these guys find a way to still get it done. And that one thing that stands out to me, that is coaching. They're led by a great coach that no matter what has his guys prepared, point blank and period. And that, like you said, Adam, about them sitting there, guys, I don't know what made them feel like they had the luxury of doing such a thing. Your season, as yes, you got there, some of which is because you played in what was a pretty piss poor division this season in the NFC East. And then on top of that, I mean, and then on top of that, your defense is top tier. Your defense has been top tier. So that was definitely winning you a lot of the football games. But offensively, you have been a mess all year, Eagles. And I don't know how you felt like you could just sit these guys down and take a week off. Like, I don't understand that kind of thought. And it looked like that on the field as we saw on Sunday. It looked like a team that took a week off and wasn't ready to play a football game on Sunday. Point blank period. I mean, it was a mess offensively, man. It's been a mess all year. Like I said, this team seems to have issues scoring points, and it's weird because you look at that lineup, it looks like it shouldn't be that way. But here we are. I mean,
they missed the field goal. They missed the extra point. Didn't they miss an extra point at the beginning with Jake Elliott?
I can't. Yeah, he missed the extra point. He missed the extra point. Yeah, he did miss the extra point. Jake missed the first extra point.
He was clockwork, but the thing I want to touch on before we move on is you let Demarcus Robinson, who wasn't a starter, hadn't done anything, beat you badly. Okay, we're not talking about Brandon Ayuk. We're not talking about Ricky Parasol. We're not talking about any of their starting players. None. They have backups out there, and they're making them look like all-stars. And you have a all-star defense. Let's talk about it. All right, Jalen Phillips. You have Brandon Graham. You have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. You had Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond. We had Quinyon Mitchell. And you still couldn't stop these bums. The only way the 49ers most likely kept you in the game more than them keeping themselves in the game. Because the offense, I felt, couldn't do anything. Even though they scored points, right? They needed touchdowns. What wins in the NFL? Touchdowns, not field goals. It's good to have a field goal kicker for clutch moments, for a big kick at some point. You want to kick the moon shot? I'd love to have Brandon Aubrey. He can kick those miracle kicks, right, from 69 yards out. But when you, in a game like this, when it matters most, and you got the Brock Purdy running the tush push. This team, Christian McCaffrey, they had a touchdown pass from Jaquan Jennings. All right, Jaquan Jennings. He didn't want to be on the team at to be halfway through the year, and he's running a trick play, and you have McCaffrey running wide open for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? I think he had more touchdowns than Jalen Hurst, which is terrible to say that a backup player. And I've never seen a personal foul, roughing the passer against a guy who was just in the backfield, who wasn't a quarterback. That was insane to me. So not only did they get roughing the passer, but then you have Christian McCaffrey track that ball. And once he caught that ball, I said it's over. I said it was over for Philly at that point because you're letting a guy not named Brock Purdy beat you, right? It wasn't Brock Purdy that threw that touchdown. It was Jaquan Jennings. And Jennings also had another touchdown later on in that game. So, the 49ers, they do what they do. They have a great coach in Kyle Shanahan who doesn't get enough praise. They somehow figure things out. When other teams lose guys and their seasons is decimated, they find a way. They find a way. It's almost like what the Patriots used to do back in the day. When guys would get injured, they would somehow find a guy who was mopping floors, come in as a wide receiver, and then tear the shit up. You know what I mean? Like a guy like David Patton, okay? Anyone doesn't know who David Patton is, go study the Giants back in the day. He was an arena leaguer, came for the Giants, had a couple big games. That guy comes in, meets with New England, and away they go, right? This is what Kyle Shanahan's doing. He's getting guys off the street, guys that have NFL experience that shouldn't be starters, that should probably be your third or fourth receivers, are now playing there, right? And they're doing their job. That defense, they play with heart, man. They play like their coach. They literally embody Robert Saleh. That's what they play like. Oh my God. Oh, that is, listen, and Evan Neal was burger flipping. Evan Neal will be doing some burger flipping this year because he ain't got no job after this. So Evan Neal, good riddance. But we're talking about the Eagles right now. We'll get to Evan Neal a little bit, that burger flipper. But to land this plane, the eagle or to shoot these eagles out of the sky. The Eagles did this to themselves. I do believe no one can tell me that not playing last game didn't hurt them. I believe it did. I believe you didn't, even though you're the champions, you can earn that, but you didn't earn that throughout the year with the struggles that you've had. I mean, they were talking about 2023. Remember the 2023 where they couldn't do shit? They went 10-1 and then lost their last like 5 games out of the last 7 or whatever it was. Last 6, they went 1-5 to end up 11-6, and then they let a fart off in Tampa Bay. That's the same kind of shit that happened here. And one thing was going to Tampa Bay that one year when they were a wildcard team. You were at home. There is no excuse for you to do that. So you say not to fire Nick Sirianni. The reason I say that is because Philadelphia does a lot of irrational things. And to me, the way this went down is unacceptable if I was Harry Roseman. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but they fired fucking Doug Peterson far less than that. Okay, he was having a bad year, and they wanted to tank, and he put in Nate Sudfeld, or whatever the fuck that guy's name was, and he ruined it with ownership. This is not as bad, but you had 2 playoff collapses in the years you've been there with Nick Sirianni, and only because nobody in your division is any good is why you're there. Is why you're in the playoff. Had the Giants or the Cowboys been able to do anything, this team would be at home. They probably would have fired Sirianni. They probably would have fired Pultulo, and we'd be talking about this. How many times are you going to fire your coordinators? This is going to be the 3rd offense that Hurst is going to be in. He was with Nick Sirianni, who had Steichen and whatever his name was, right? And then Steichen leaves.
If you go back to his college days, actually, while you're on this real quick, back to his college days, if you go back to Jalen Hurst's years in college, this will actually be 11 consecutive years now where he'll have a new offensive coordinator, dating back to even when he was in college. 11 consecutive years of having a different
11 seasons. That's crazy.
No wonder the guy can't be an elite quarterback. He's always
I was just about to say
that. Every year.
He has to learn a new system every fucking year. That's insane.
And but then you look, because I get it. You win championships. Your coordinators leave, but every year it's a new offense. And then Kellen Moore was the best offense that Jalen Hurts ever been a part of, because he uses legs and he uses his arm and he was unstoppable. And here we are now. And he's going to have another offensive coordinator. I think Nick Sirianni should fucking take over the play calling. That's what I believe he should do. I think he was the play caller in year 1, if I'm not mistaken. And then he gave it up to Steichen and the other guys the next year. And then they went to the Super Bowl. Then they got rid of their guys who went to Arizona and Indianapolis collectively, fired the fucking bum that was there, got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore now parlays that into fucking Saints coach. And now you got a guy, Kevin Pultulo, who every year sucked. Like every game sucked. They wanted to run him out of town. Now they were putting up points at the beginning of the year, and then they got stagnant. I'll tell you why they got stagnant. No offensive creativity. Everybody knows what the fuck you're going to do. They know who you're going to go to, and your quarterback can't read a damn defense to save his life. So I want to see what happens this offseason. I really do. I want to see what they do this year, because the Eagles, to me, are a team that's going to be hunted.
I agree. I think the same thing with the Kellen Moore content. I think, like you said, Jalen Hurts was phenomenal a season ago under Kellen Moore, and I think that was one of their
underneath him as well, huh? For
one of their biggest mistakes, man, was letting Kellen Moore get out the door. I mean, granted, he got a head coaching job, obviously, but it's sometimes you got to try to hold on to those guys that are valuable. I mean, I've been talking to Eagle fans. It's funny, myself, just guys I know, people I know, man, that are actually they're interested in, wouldn't mind the Eagles reaching out to Brian Dable of all people to come in and be their OC. As a guy that's worked with Jalen Hurts in the past.
I think that would be a good move on their part, you know.
And I've talked to a couple of guys that feel like they would be good if they would bring in Brian Dable to be the offensive coordinator for Philly, man. So I don't know. That has no traction to it. Obviously, that's just the guys I know talking about it. You know what I mean? But I was just wondering what your thoughts could be about something like that. If that could be the case, if Brian Dable would go to Philly and become the OC, work with Jalen Hurts like he used to back in Alabama, and then also work with Saquon Barkley again as well. You guys have any thoughts on what?
It worked out so well for him in Alabama, the coach, that he had to transfer to a new school. So I understand, bringing in Brian Dable, but like, my goodness, this guy. I'm sorry, Dable. needs to go somewhere else, reestablish himself. I want to see him with an actual, develop somebody, right? Because Hurts is good, I guess, but I don't know if Brian Dable's all of a sudden going to unlock him to be this elite guy, right? If you want maybe because he runs QB power every 5 minutes, maybe that's why you want to do it. Maybe that's why you bring him in because, hey, you want to run a QB run? Great. Here you go, Jalen Hurts. We don't need Saquon Barkley anymore. We're just going to run you all over the place. So maybe that's it. I'd rather have him have Mike McDaniels because I believe Mike McDaniels is, a guy who came from the Shanahan tree, might be a little bit better to help with the passing game. Dable, I don't know if it's going to be – I don't know. Maybe because I have a bad taste in my mouth, but maybe he comes in here. I don't know. If he gets the job, it would be funny, though. Pretty funny.
I would look at it this way too. I know it's just a rumor among your friends and stuff, and I wouldn't mind it. I think Dable is an excellent offensive coordinator, but here's the thing, like Adam said too, I don't think developing Jalen Hurts 11 years into his career is going to help the kid. With a guy, I think he's shooting from okay, am I going to go be an OC for the Raiders and work with Mendoza, or am I going to be an OC for the Titans and work with Cam Ward? I think yeah, like Adam's saying, he's going to go to a team where it has a much younger quarterback that he can put a stamp on. Because if you look at what he did for Josh Allen, he left and Josh Allen continued to ascend. So he can't really put a stamp on that. If he goes to a team like the Raiders, they draft Mendoza. He works with Mendoza. I think Mendoza is going to be a superstar in this league. Household name in under 4 years. That's how I truly feel about the kid. I think Brian Day will want to put his stamp on approval for that kind of talent. You know what I'm saying? Cam Ward up in Tennessee, brand new state. And stuff like that.
That would be interesting. You know what? Brian Dable's going to go to the Commanders. That's who's going to be their new OC. He already loved Jaden Daniels in Hard Knocks. Why wouldn't you want to bring him in here and see what he could do with Jaden Daniels as a commander, a nice young guy that needs a quarterback a quarterback coach. Jalen Hurts to me is just limited in what he can do, and I just feel like I don't know if going to the Eagles will work out, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just something, like I said, I was just talking to a couple of friends of mine, just randomly. That's a name they threw out as a guy that they seemed like they would be interested in becoming the OC there. And like you said, he was absolutely, Dable was absolutely in love with Jaden Daniels, and that could be a job of interest too if they were to pursue him. So that would be kind of funny, man. You got him in the NFC East calling plays against the New York Giants again. But as far as how you didn't feel about the Kevin Patullo fire, was he feel like he was scapegoated, or you feel like that was a fire and that was definitely needed? And I think that's the main reason for myself personally. I think that's the main reason why Nick Sirianni is going to retain his job. I think because he made that move, even though I feel like personally that the move was made too late. I think Kevin Patullo, this offense just has not responded to whatever he was talking about all season long. It was just a bad look all year for this offense, and I think this should have happened probably way sooner. But I don't know what your thoughts on Patullo's firing.
I'll let Zion go first.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just feel like we watch the Eagles all season long, at least the games I watch. I know you guys probably watch them much closer because you guys got this show, but the Eagles games as I watch, it's almost as if like they always looked off, and there's too much talent on that fucking team to not be a top 5 offense in the NFL. I think that he got too reliable on Jalen Hurts' mobility when he should have been focused on giving Barkley the ball a fucking million times a day and working off the play action. No, that's not really his style. But when you look at the Eagles offense this whole season, what I can judge is it just looked off. It looked really, really broken at times. And even early on in the season, we're like, oh, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it together. They're gonna get it together, and they really didn't. It was all over the place, and it never really connected. And especially when you have that much talent on a football team, like it shouldn't look the way it looked. Go ahead, Adam.
He was scapegoated, period. He was scapegoated. Excuse me.
All right.
Sorry about that, fellas. I got a little tickle in my throat. No, he was scapegoated. Why was he scapegoated? This was Nick Sirianni's best friend of like a long time. So the fact that he fired this guy obviously tells you something. He probably would have been fired had he pulled a John Harbaugh and said, "No, I'm not firing my coordinators." Right? He did. Now, what to me, I don't know what Patillo did, so it's kind of bad because this guy never called plays. So you give him this year to call plays. You have to be able to adjust as a coach in terms of getting a new job, right? We always talk about this when we're talking about coaches. How will they respond? Is one thing when you have a guy that's like, for example, let's use Jim Nagy, right? Jim Nagy doesn't call the plays. He's an offensive coordinator, but he don't call the plays. Andy Reid does. So then when you do call the plays, how is he going to do it? When is he going to do it? I don't think this was a bad game plan by any stretch this week. I don't think the offensive game plan was the reason why the Eagles lost this game. Like you can tell me that they had some limitations, yes. But let's be honest, fellas. Do you really think that the play calling was bad enough? Like I'm just saying, if AJ Brown catches that ball, we're talking about a different ball game. There's two balls down the sideline. One that he missed it, he should go for, and another one on fourth and whatever down the middle of the field where he missed it. And then he's not the one reading the defense where Hurst is throwing to three guys in the middle of the field at the end of the game. Like at the end of the game, he's literally throwing to 49ers in the middle of the field. So yes, they had their struggles offensively. I don't think it was as bad as 2023 in terms of
that's true.
How the production was. In 2023, they didn't adjust nothing. They couldn't do shit. They ran the same offense from week one of training camp till the end of the season. They just couldn't do anything. They didn't change it up. They didn't do nothing. They were in 11 personnel all the time. Here, they were able to do a little differently. They had the push opportunities. They were able to get some plays. I can't blame them for that. What I can blame is the lack of execution that I saw down the Eagles on the stretch. Because here's the thing: I don't like Kevin Patillo. I don't think he was terrible. But when you look at the films, they do the NFL films and he's talking to people and stuff. They were engaging with him. They were talking with him. They were trying to give their input. They just didn't execute. And a guy who's never called plays now is calling plays. Nick Sirianni's offense, I guess you would call it, right? And here he is not being able to do it. So I want to see what direction they go because they need to get a guy who's going to maximize the quarterback, right? And I want to see who they bring in because, like you said, Dable might be good, but what happens if they struggle next year? If they struggle next year and there's the same kind of issues, are we then going to blame Jalen Hurts? Because at that point, it becomes a quarterback problem, not a coaching problem. And the thing that's interesting to me is that with Shane Steichen, he looked great, an actual guy that can call plays. And with Kellen Moore, he looked good. The other 2 seasons, 3 seasons they've been in there. I'm not going to count the second year that he was in the league, Jalen Hurts, because that was really his rookie year. But the 2 seasons from 2022 to now, 2025, the 2 seasons without actual, I guess, notable play callers, he's looked terrible. So, which tells me he's a very limited quarterback because if you look at like a guy like Herbert or other guys who have had different coordinators, they're still putting up numbers, which shows you that they have more talent. So the next guy that they bring in, they've got to bring in a guy that's going to know offense. I wouldn't be surprised if Steichen got fired, that's the guy I would have called up immediately. From the Colts, but he didn't. Gannon got fired, so nothing you can do about that. You're not getting rid of Vic Fangio. So they really need to figure out this offense badly. I don't know if Mike McDaniels would come there. I don't even know if Brian Dable would come there because to me, there's too much riding on the Eagles. Like if I'm Brian Dable, I'd rather go to a team that's got maybe a new coaching staff, like for example, Las Vegas, right? You get Fernando Mendoza in there, you build and establish yourself. Now you're going to become a head coach again because look what I've done with Mendoza, right? Look what I've accomplished with him. Going in with Jalen Hurts, we're going to have that chicken or the egg conversation. Who's the actual mastermind? Is it Brian Dable or is it Jalen Hurts? Like we're doing right now with Josh Allen, right? We don't give credit to Brian Dable because everywhere else that he was outside of Buffalo, he was a mediocre offensive coordinator, right? But he gets this unicorn and he does well. He gets Jackson Dart and puts a lot of effort into it. So you kind of say, okay, that's good there. But the rest of the offense wasn't really that spectacular. And he doesn't know how to, I feel like the Eagles, you got to find out what they're going to do, because are you getting rid of A.J. Brown? Because if he's walking into a team doesn't have the 2 number 1 receivers and the tight end, who, by the way, needs to be signed, what am I walking into, right? And how am I going to adjust? So really, if I'm the Eagles, I want to identify how I'm going to maximize Jalen Hurts. And I feel like Kevin Patullo got the raw end of the deal, because he never was just like the guy who was the coach in part 2 was it Desai, I think the guy's name was the offensive coordinator after Steichen left. If I'm not, or that might be the defensive coordinator. Whoever the guy was, that was the first time calling plays, and so now he gets fired, right? So now you need to bring in somebody who's going to establish yourself. But here's the catch. This is why Dan Campbell's having a problem. He set it up in his press conference. I don't want to bring in anybody good because I'm afraid they're going to leave. Meaning, I'd rather call plays and take the bird.
Brian Johnson,
my offensive coordinator here, than have a guy call it.
Brian
right?
Johnson,
Dan Campbell. That's who you're talking. Yeah, Brian Johnson. He never called plays in his life, right? So he gets thrust into this role, and then he gets fired. So what I'm trying to say is, either Nick Sirianni needs to bring in somebody, and then he calls the plays, or if you bring in somebody, if it is a Dable or a Mike McDaniels, know that they're on a short leash, because if they do perform, guess what? If they're in the playoffs, guess who gets poached first? Those coordinators, right? And because he's had some success with quarterbacks along, Mike McDaniels with the 49ers, and then, of course, down in Miami, and then you have Brian Dable, who, I guess you could say he is Josh Allen, but he was – I can't really – I don't want to put my stamp on that, because I don't necessarily – I believe Josh Allen would have been good regardless of Dable's there, to be honest, but we'll see what happens. I'll land this plane because I'm rambling on. This is a critical offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles, because right now you're not in the Super Bowl. You're not the same team that you were. And mind you, there are 6 other teams in the NFC conference, with the 3 in the North and the 3 in the West, who look like they're going to be here for a while. So you need to figure this out, because if you don't have a guy that's going to put you over the top and make you the number 1 seed, we're going to be back in this position next year. And we're going to say, well, does Nick Sirianni get fired? Like, he was one and done in the playoffs. He's not won a Super Bowl since he's had Kellen Moore. So this is a really big offseason, and I think they need to get this hire right, just like the Cowboys have to get their hire right for the defensive side.
Well, it's like you said, it's important. I feel like it's not even just the teams you mentioned. Like you said, the teams in the NFC West, still 3 teams in the NFC West still battling it out in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. I mean, that just tells you about that division right there. And then the NFC North as well. I mean, Minnesota played really good football down the stretch in that division as well. And Detroit, they're still they still got something to say about something too out there, even though they came short of the playoffs this year. But also the NFC East itself, their division. I mean, it's likelihood that the other teams in their own division are likely to think they're going to all be a little bit better next year, man. I mean, as we say, the Redskins, the Commanders had a little, the bad luck this season with the injuries and such, and whatever things they had going on. Some issues on defense, and the Giants. A lot of people feel are just a good coach away from being a far more competitive football team. And the Dallas Cowboys, they're the Dallas fucking Cowboys. They do what they do. You never know what to really expect from them. They always got a talented roster, and you just never know what you're going to get. But expect them to be a little bit better. So the Eagles need to have an important offseason, because at this point they got to keep the rest of the teams in their division at bay as well. And it's not going to be necessarily. Not likely to be as easy next year as it was this past season, and even in their own division. So that's just something, for the Eagles. And I'm really tired talking about these fucking Eagles right now. Let's talk about, some shit. Let's talk about, the big guy in the building today, man. Up in MetLife, up in New York Giants facilities, man. Not MetLife Stadium, but up in the Giant facilities. John Harbaugh coming in his first in-person interview. He chose to make that with the New York Giants. And how you guys feeling about John Harbaugh being in the facilities today?
Well, let me get to my stories quickly. And so here is John Harbaugh. Now, all week we've heard he's coming in the building. He's coming in the building. The Giants are shaking ass for this guy. They're doing everything, right? Think about it. If you have a wife, right, and you normally don't go to the back door, they're opening up the back door. Everything is open for the Giants. Okay, so here we are. Here I am, right, thinking we're getting Harbaugh, right? So I go to my kids' school meeting, and me and my wife are conversing after the meeting. We're just talking, and we know a guy who lives in the house that we've parked in front of. He's an Eagle fan. I guess he heard us because randomly he goes to check the mail, right? So he comes out and he starts talking to us, and he starts talking his hellish shit. I'm here to wipe your tears for that terrible loss that you had as an Eagle fan. He's like, I know, man, I can't believe this. This team stinks. How can I do it? Right. And here I am. I go, you know what? And this is before anything. I said, we're going to kick your ass next year with John Harbaugh in the building. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm looking at myself. I hadn't had about experience. I'm like, wait, I'm talking shit to some other fan base? John Harbaugh's not even in the building. That's John Harbaugh energy. So then, after I'd done talking shit with him, I drive back home, right? I see another set of neighbors. Unfortunately, I'm in Eagle country. So I pull over, we chit-chat. Oh, hey, how's so-and-so, how's so-and-so? They're like, oh, you're going to get Harbaugh? I'm like, damn right, we're going to get Harbaugh. We're coming for that ass. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say it like that because his lovely wife was there, but he knew what I was saying. I drove home, and I looked at my phone, and I said, holy shit. I'm having an out-of-body experience. Here I am rooting for the Giants and actually talking shit. Like, holy shit, I'm dropping little nuggets. So here I am with a Cowboy fan now. So a Cowboy friend of mine was trying to tell me, now mind you, I've been on Spaces all day. I've been Harbaugh drunk, okay? So I've been drinking that Harbaugh Kool-Aid since 9 a.m. So I got every little insider, every little detail coming in my ear, blah, 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 right? This motherfucker who's a Cowboy fan goes, well, the Ravens got rid of him because he was a bad play caller. Remember the Patriot game? I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with them almost making the playoffs? I said to him, listen, man, I heard from a reporter, because I listened to Jason Whitlock, this guy came on, he said, listen, I'll give you the breakdown. And however true it is or not, is regardless. We don't know the guy's sources, but he said he heard that Steve Bisciotti, the owner, said to John Harbaugh, you're going to come back, but you have to fire your coordinator, Todd Monken, right? So he calls up Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, and he goes, Lamar, now this is the story I heard, right? Take it for what it's worth. He calls up Lamar Jackson. He's like, yo, I'm coming back. I know you fired Monken. And he's like, I know you didn't like Monken. And the guy was like, Lamar's like, nah, coach, I'm cool. It was cool, whatever. You know how they smooth that shit over. And he's like, whatever, man. How do you feel about me coming back? He was like, I'm good, coach. The next day, the owner calls him up and fires him after the owner just had a conversation with him. So what happened? The owner got done talking with Lamar Jackson. Lamar called up the owner and said, get rid of this motherfucker. And that's what happened. Okay, so he got rid. It wasn't a players mutiny and all that other bullshit that they're trying to spin. No, and even look at Steve Bisciotti right now. He's out there whacking Harbaugh on the way out. You know why? Because he's buying into the seats. He don't care about the fan base. He don't care about winning. He cares about Lamar Jackson and selling seats. Because a guy who's been 18 years with the organization, brought them their second Super Bowl title, right? With two different quarterbacks that's been to the playoffs every year. You get rid of him and then you kick him on the way out. Tells me all I need to know about that organization, where it was going. And they even asked him this week, if John Harbaugh was your coach, how much longer would he have been your coach? Oh, for another week. Ha, 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 jokes. So what does that tell me? That tells me exactly what I need to know. They chose Lamar Jackson over Jim Harbaugh. But this Cowboy fan is trying to tell me about how John Harbaugh got fired. I said, do you realize I've been listening to John Harbaugh stuff from 9 a.m.? I've gotten every story on Twitter. I mean, I'm in a giant space all day. All they're talking about is Harbaugh this, Harbaugh that, this guy this. I'm plugged in here. My little Cowboy fan who's been working his little job all day, definitely not listening to Twitter spaces, is going to tell me. I told him, listen, man, we're about to kick your ass. Who the fuck is Brian Schottenheimer? Who the fuck is Brian Schottenheimer? You're going to tell me that John Harbaugh ain't the best coach in the NFC East? You walk into that building? Are you kidding me? And you have Brian Schottenheimer. Nobody even knew his fucking name. He got the job by default. He got the fucking job by default. They didn't interview anybody. They were like, oh, Mike McCarthy's leaving. He's like, yeah, man, I'm out of here because you're not giving me a long-term deal. They're like, how about you, Brian? And I guarantee you, Jerry Jones was like, I'm going to fire this motherfucker because it's easy because they got no name behind him. right? He's Brian fucking Schottenheimer. Sure, he's Marty Schottenheimer's kid. I love Marty, but he ain't Marty, okay? So you're going to tell me, a Cowboy fan, that John Harbaugh, he's giving me all the low points. He's like, oh, he's not that good, blah, blah. I'm like, motherfucker, get out of here. And I'm sorry to curse the kids listening. I'm just in a mood because a Cowboy fan is trying to tell me about John Harbaugh, who's in the building. So then today, after all that, I'm here listening to him, and now they got people, and I didn't even know this was a thing. Some random nerd on Twitter was following Steve Tish's plane. They had a GPS locator of Steve Tish's. That's right, Giants owner, personal plane. Somebody showed you his flight pattern. He went to Baltimore, looked like he stopped at one spot, probably got some chicken wings, and brought John Harbaugh back over to fucking Giant Stadium in one foul swoop. And I'm like, this is insane. I've never had this much, hope in my life. Come to find out that he's leaving the fucking building. He's leaving the building. They did everything. This team has grabbed ass, has shaken cheeks, has called. They had Eli Manning call him. They had fucking, Brian Dable call. Why the fuck is Brian Dable calling my fucking future head coach? What the? Everyone's like, oh man, that's great. Let's make him a fucking offensive coordinator here. Like, what is wrong with you people? That's the last guy I want to call my next hire. Hey, you know what? Hey Brian, do me a favor. Can you call John Harbaugh? I just fired you about a month ago, but can you do me this solid and call up my next hire? That's like fucking telling your girlfriend who you just broke up with, who you're now going to date her friend, but hey, can you call your friend and tell me that I'm available? I just broke up. How the hell are you going to do that to me, right? So here we are right now, and we are still waiting for John Harbaugh. We are still waiting for John Harbaugh. But for that one brief moment, I was back on the Giant bandwagon for a minute. I was actually like, oh my God, we got John Harbaugh. I can talk some shit because if we get John Harbaugh, we're going to have an identity. People aren't going to respect us. They're not going to look at us like a fucking joker, put clown noses all over us. And then we're actually going to be legit. We're going to be on every fucking primetime game there is. We're going to be puffing our chests out because even though we may not win a lot of games because our roster's going to be gutted, we're going to fucking be relevant because we got John fucking Harbaugh on our side. We got to have Cowboy fans talking shit with Brian Schottenheimer as their coach. The guy looks like a dweeb compared to fucking John Harbaugh. But that's all right. We'll get there when we get there. If John Harbaugh is not our coach, it's going to go for naught, and we're going to end up with Kevin Stefanski, and then I'll really be sad again. But other than that, that's why I was excited. But I don't know why John Harbaugh is leaving. I'll let you guys chime in on what you heard, but I had to tell you those stories.
I fucking love that energy, Adam. That was awesome. Love those stories. And as you should puff up your chest, and I don't think you should have nothing to worry about. I just think John Harbaugh is a guy that just spent 18 years at one place and developed his name there. Obviously, he was on the Eagles. I think it's no given. I'm like almost 95% positive that John Harbaugh will be our head coach next year. Number one, because he started, before he was in Baltimore, he was the Eagles. And now, they're in the same division. And I just think that the teams on the list, the three teams that he's going to have interviews with, the Giants are in the best possible position to land him. Here's my thoughts. He's been in a place for 18 years. He doesn't want to make a fast decision. He wants to respect the other teams. He wants to go down. He wants to go meet with the Tennessee Titans. They're going to pitch him on this brand new stadium. They're going to pitch him on Cam Ward and all this. Then he's going to have to go and obviously meet the the Atlanta Falcons. I think they already fumbled the bag with that fake fucking post. He didn't fucking interview him. He talked to Matt Ryan on the phone for a couple of hours. We has been an organization like you have. Like you said previously, yes, we're shaking ass, but we're doing it in all the reasons as we should. We have a future owner. Hopefully, John stays strong and he beats it. But eventually, one day will come that the team will have to be transferred, and we have a future owner already flying to go have dinner with him in Baltimore. Then John invited him to his house. So that was the first thing we got on these other teams. Then exactly our co-owner, Steve Tisch, sending his official Giants private jet with the NY on the plane. I love these kids nowadays. They just track everything, and then like Adam said, already bringing him in first class. The last two times we did that was for Joe Judge before we hired him, and then for Brian Dable before we hired him. The thing I look at too, Joe Judge, I know that name makes me laugh too. Here's the thing though. I think John Harbaugh is not going to make a gullible decision. He's going to take this time to think on it. And here's the thing, though. We already knocked out everything that we could knock out. So all he has to do is say he wakes up in the morning and he's all like, you know what? I don't even need to talk to Cam Ward. I don't even talk. Sorry. I don't even need to talk to the Tennessee Titans. Rumors have it he just left the building, but he did meet with Jackson Dorrit. He did like what he had with Jackson Dorrit. You know what I'm saying? He likes ownership. I think he really respects the Giants, and I think he really looks at the Giants as an organization that can really. He's already a Hall of Fame head coach, but can really cement that. You know what I'm saying? And if you win a championship in New York, and if you're the coach, he doesn't need us as much as we need him. But what I'm saying is, when I look at the three organizations, I'm looking at New York Giants being on a pedestal. Nothing against the Titans, nothing against the Falcons. Shout out to Matt Ryan for his president of football hire. Great move by the Falcons. That being said, though, focusing on us, I think we're in a position we're going to pay him what we want to pay him. I think the meeting went great. I just think that both parties, it's almost like a mutual agreement. Like, we're not going to rush you. Take your time. And I don't think it's going to take longer than Friday. I think we'll know by Friday if he's going to be our coach or not. And I honestly think he is. And I think, honestly, guys, my honest truth, these are the names that this is my dream list, but I don't see it happening. But I do see some head coaches coming in here and coach underneath him because the Giants get him the green staff. He can do whatever he wants. He can basically get whatever hires he want to get in here. You know, money's not an option with us. Whatever you want, you get. And he said he's going to pick his own staff. So let him bring a guy in. Joe, your job's going to get a whole lot easier. You just stand in the corner and learn for a couple of years. He's going to make you keep your job. John Harbaugh's going to come in here and you're going to take credit for a lot of shit, as he should. But Joe, you can develop as a GM underneath him. And I say that in all respect, Joe. That being said, he's going to make your job easy. You'll still get the same salary, but he gonna make some moves, you know what I'm saying? So you have to do less work, Joe. Congratulations. That being said, though, jokes aside, dream staff. I want John Harbaugh as our head coach. I want Mike McDaniels as our offensive coordinator, and I want Raheem Morris as our defensive coordinator. If that fucking happens, the NFL should fucking fear us. But I honestly think if those two offensive coordinators and doesn't get hired, the defensive coordinators doesn't get hired, I think we're gonna bring some names here that people's gonna recognize. When John, really speaking into existence, when John Harbaugh signs his Hancock with the New York Giants. That being said, though, I will say this: it's gonna happen. So we just gotta think positive, and I think you should, Adam, you should boost your chest up because it's been a long time. It's been over 12 years since Giants could even do that. You know what I'm saying? And I think whether it be John or I know this for a fact, it's something's good. Something's good can come for this team, you know, and it's only upwards from here on out. I actually forgot what I was going to say, so I was trying to remember while dragging that on, but I can't remember it. So I'm going to just pass it over to you, Mac. And I honestly think we're in good hands no matter what happens this offseason. When you have a quarterback like Dorrit, when you have a roster with talent, a defense with talent, we just need a coach to coach these guys up. And I truly believe that we're not that far up. We've seen the Chicago Bears do it. We've seen the Patriots do it. We've seen the Rams do it when McVay took over. We've seen Washington do it last year. It's not that hard. The most important position on the football field is the quarterback, but the most important position in the building is the head coach. Let's get it right. Go right ahead, Mac.
What a season! What an off season to need a football, need a new head coach. I tell you, man, this has just been crazy. I can't remember an off season where you had coaching candidates like this lined up, man. Like, this is just nuts. But John Harbaugh, this is the guy. This is the coup de grace. You know, this is what we all want, myself included, you know, and obviously, you know, I kind of tend to agree with you, Zion. I think he's just an honorable guy. He's honoring commitments that he has already made, you know what I mean? He's gonna go listen to what other guys got to say. But I feel like, and I stand on it, the New York Giants job is so fucking desirable. I mean, yes, they got a great young quarterback in Tennessee down there in Cam Ward, but we got a great young quarterback here in New York, man. I think we just a little bit closer than Tennessee is to taking that next step, man. And I would just believe, like you said, it's just we're just the right coach away. You look at, like I said, look at the Giants we did this season, man. it's a lot of coaching things, man. Like the way we lost football games, that comes down to just not having the right guy running things in charge, man. We get that guy, and I think that's absolutely John Harbaugh, man. For myself, for my taste, for my liking, you need a leader like that to come in here and take things over, man. And I think the Giants could be really trending in the right direction, man. Like you said, it's no guarantee we're going to all of a sudden be some playoff team and compete next year like that. But we're going to open some eyes up. You know what I mean? He'll open some eyes. Like, look what he did with Baltimore this season. They start the season off 1-5. Yes, the Ravens started the season off 1-5. And then week 18, he got these guys playing. If they win that football game, they'd have been in the postseason, winning the AFC North Division, man. So that's the kind of coach he is. That even with the season starting off as disastrous as it did in Baltimore this year, he still was able to turn that season around enough and had them playing in a very meaningful game in the last week of the season. The state came up short and didn't quite get there, but at the same time, that's what kind of coach he is. That's what we're talking about getting in New York, man. A guy of that status, man. Like I said, and I'm glad because I thought this was going to be the issue, that the New York Giants were going to be acting like puff their chest out like we're the big bad New York Giants. No, they're rolling that red carpet out for John Harbaugh. You know what I mean? Yes, they're willing to give this man basically whatever the hell he wants, and that's what I'm talking about, man. I don't know about by this week, and I don't think it's going to be quite this way. I think maybe by end of next week for sure we'll have a decision by John Harbaugh. Not for anything else, because he knows the job ahead, man. No matter which team he picks, he understands that he's got to get to work. You know what I mean? So you ain't got time to be fumbling around trying to figure out where you want to go. You got to get there because you got work. There's work to be done. Whether you pick the fucking Giants, the Falcons, the Titans, there's work to be done in all these locations. You ain't got time to be figuring out where you want to go. So I think by end of next week, before we even go into the conference championship round, man, I think we're going to have a decision by John Harbaugh, and that decision needs to be big blue. But let's talk about some of the other guys. This, like I said, this is an off season full of star-studded candidates. Mike McCarthy already came in, and it didn't go so well. It didn't go so well from what I'm hearing, man. Like things I've heard, it didn't it didn't really move the needle, So looking like he's kind of, pushed to the side right now. You know what I mean? Still haven't done anything formal with like Kevin Stefanski. Just don't know what Mike Tomlin is even going to do. Mike Tomlin being the big news come out from yesterday. These guys, some of the other guys, man. Just in case. I mean, obviously, I think John Harbaugh is a consensus that we all want. But in case that doesn't work out, like what's some of the other guys you guys thinking about? Because there's still some big names out there.
Well, for the Giants,
everyone wants to go first.
The consolation prize would be Stefanski. That's what they've already. The rumor has been whoever doesn't get Harbaugh is going to get Stefanski of those like three teams. So to me, I like Cliff Kingsbury. They haven't. I don't know if they've interviewed him. They've interviewed a couple other guys. But the only other guy that's even been talked about has been Stefanski. So I'll just talk about him, I guess. I'm going to take what he did at Cleveland, different than some people. The fact that he won 11 games with that team in a division that had John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin in there, right, and a Bengals team that got good with Joe Burrow, it really does mean something to me. I know it's coach of the year. I don't think Dable should have won his coach of the year because Kevin O'Connell was better than him record-wise, and I mean that's who I felt should have won it. No slight on the Giants, but I base it on record, and that the Vikings were just as bad as the Giants, right? They didn't win that many games the year prior, and then he comes in this game and destroy. Remember, because they lost Kirk Cousins that year, or it was Achilles, so they all got fired from that and Case Keenum and all that stuff. So he comes in that year and changes the whole team. They go 11-4. Obviously, they lost in the playoffs, but I just felt they were better. But I'm not going to take it away. Kevin Stefanski has two of those in a division and a conference that's actually legit with Kansas City in that conference, a two-time coach of the year. He would bring with him Jim Schwartz, who probably would be the coach of the Browns, who he's waiting on, I guess, to see what he'll do. But I would inquire about it unless he gets the job. Then I would bring in Raheem Morris. I don't think Raheem Morris is going to get a job as a head coach, not because he doesn't deserve it. I think he should, but because of what Atlanta did. and they kind of unceremoniously cut him. If I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm lining him up. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm lining him up, or John Harbaugh, excuse me. But that's kind of the guy that I'm looking for. Maybe a Jeff Hafley. They know they brought in a mentor. McCarthy, I don't think the interview with McCarthy was blown away, because I think they know what they're getting with McCarthy. Remember, they could have interviewed McCarthy early on, right? Remember, he wasn't tied to a team. So as soon as they fired Dable, we don't know if they've had any conversation since then, and the interview being a formality. But before I pass the mic to Zion real quick, I wanted to mention that I know you guys are optimistic, and I am too, that John Harbaugh is going to be our coach. Why would it matter to go to other teams? There's two ways about this. You can honor other agreements, which is true, which is fine. But the only reason you're honoring other agreements is because you want to see what those teams have to offer. Take it from a guy who's interviewed at a lot of jobs, right, and has job offers. If I have 3 job offers and I want the Giants, but let's say, and I like Cam Ward and I like what they're doing down in Tennessee and what they're building, and they come in and they give me the keys to the castle and even more than the Giants are offering in terms of power structure and all this, right? Because Ian O'Connor did say the Giants need to bend their power structure a little bit, and maybe the Giants aren't relenting that and don't want to do that, even with John Harbaugh, because it is a family-run business, right? Let's just say. And maybe the Titans will. Maybe the Titans won't care. I wouldn't let this guy even had the chance to interview with other people. Even if he says, I'm doing it, have him sign on the dotted line. And then don't let anything be announced. And you could casually just say, cancel those interviews with Atlanta and Tennessee. Now, again, he hasn't technically gone there, but that they're reporting this. So the reason why I'm coming back to this, even though Mac had, moved us on to the other candidates, is I wanted to say this before, let Zion go deeper into some of the thoughts about his candidates, only because if I want this guy, the Giants have done so much to get him, now you're going to let him walk out of your building to even entertain the thought of another team. I'm not saying he's not going to choose the Giants. And I'm not saying you guys are wrong that he's a classy guy to do that. I just feel like if he wanted the Giants from day one, this should have been a wrap right now. We shouldn't even be hearing stories. And now the one thing I want to say is, before we didn't know about Harbaugh, now we know because there's people in the building that know, and leaks get leaked, right? And that's what happens sometimes. But anyway, Zion, I'd love to hear your candidates.
I love that. I love that you said that. And just to kind of,
can I just say something? One thing, real quick, real quick. Say something real fast before we jump to you. But the thing about that, like I hear you, Adam, but the Harbaugh thing. But I kind of compare it like almost to like that top recruit coming out of high school getting wooed by all the college teams. You kind of probably you go to Alabama, you talk to there, and you probably kind of know, yeah, I'm going to go to Alabama. That's where I'm going. But I'm going to still take these free recruit trips, and let these guys fawn all over me everywhere else. Just for it feels good to feel so wanted. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a little bit of that just going on with Harbaugh. You kind of probably know I want to be in the big market, New York, help turn that historic franchise back around. But I'm gonna just entertain Nashville for a little bit, spend a couple of days in Nashville or something, entertain these guys. I'm gonna go ahead and hang out in the A for a little bit, just let them talk to me. But hopefully it could be something more like that. Hopefully it could be. You said what?
I said why? I know you have the college analogy, and that's interesting with a recruit. I never really thought of it like that. But I'm asking you, if I'm John Harbaugh, why have these guys fly to me and waste their time? You know what I mean?
I don't think it's a waste of time, though. I think I was at a place for 18 years that damn near hurt me, because I wanted to come up. I wanted to come back. I just had a meeting with the owner, and I was family in Baltimore, right? I just had a meeting with the owner, and he was cool. Next minute, I'm fired. This is the first coach that used the fucking emoji in his farewell "Thank you, Baltimore" speech. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost as if like you was trusted by an organization for 18 years. That's almost a 20-year career, right? And you thought it was going to be good. You was going to come back. And then you get a call that you're not going to come back. Now you're hurt. I just think it's him being an experienced head coach, doesn't want to make any fast decision. Who knows? He doesn't call his agent tomorrow morning and be like, you know what? I don't even need to go to Nashville. We have the power. The Giants have all the power because he can think of it now. He hasn't met it with Tennessee yet. He hasn't met with the Falcons yet. Now he has all day to think about this whole meeting. And then what if he wakes up, because he doesn't want to make a fast decision, right? He doesn't want to make a decision that's going to be fast. What if he wakes up tomorrow and he's all like, I want to go with the Giants? But I get your point. I understand where you're coming from, because I totally agree with that too. It's almost as if like,
I hear what you're saying. You like the courting part of it. I get that. I totally understand the courting part, especially when you're 18. It's like a woman or a spouse you've been with for 18 years. Now you're trying to get into the dating scene. Oh, yeah, great, blah, blah. You don't want to get married again in a long-term commitment. I understand that. We're talking about business. We're talking about a team in the New York Giants who basically showed interest in you the moment the Twitter hit that hit Twitter, he was already linked to the Giants job. Hell, for days leading up, it's not like this has been, like they had Kevin Stefanski in on Black Monday or Tuesday, right? This has already been, we're into what, next Thursday? The games have passed. All I'm saying is the longer you drag it out and the more that there's a risk, I don't want to take that risk. Like, to me, I understand what you guys are saying, but to me, if this is my guy, I'm not letting you leave the building. I'm not letting you go in front of another team. I'm not even giving you a chance to talk to the other team, because if you want this job, I want this job. I don't care about the honors and all that, and I get what you're saying. John, this is John Harbaugh we're talking about here. We're not talking about a guy who's not going to the Hall of Fame. We're talking about a guy.
You kind of answered your own question, because it's the Giants that need him more than he needs the Giants. So if you really look at it, he's going in the Hall of Fame no matter what. So he knows. Okay, so look at the way I look at it, and I totally agree with you what you're saying, because I wouldn't want him to be building too. But here's the thing. You have 9 teams that wanted him. He now it down to 3. I think this gets done like I said Friday, like Max said next week. Probably by Monday, Tuesday, I can see it happening too, because of the fact that you know for sure you're the first down. The whole league is waiting on you. Once you fall, then everybody's gonna get hired. Everybody's gonna hire their coaches. It's gonna be like boom, 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 right? Because the Senior Bowl's in 2 weeks, right? So these teams want to move on that, right? So that being said, though, it's for him. It's almost as if like, you can't kidnap me. I'm gonna leave this building because I'm fucking John Harbaugh. I respect the private PJ. I respect that, but you gotta respect me. And I was just in a relationship for 18 years, and I'm not trying to make a fast decision. I really need to take the night to think of it. Who knows that they don't even have something? I agree with you. Continue. Yeah.
But here's my only point. If you from the moment he left Baltimore, everybody in the national media has basically linked him to the Giants job, right? And even though there were 9 teams that were after him, the number one. So if this is his number one, and that's your number one guy, I just don't see a point of him going to Tennessee unless there's something in the negotiations that was happening that they're not relenting on. Because if he leaves and somehow by hook or by crook, he has relationships with Matt Ryan, he has relationships with the GM in Tennessee, and possibly there is a rumor that Green Bay could possibly still open up. If that opens up, they definitely said that they'd be in the Harbaugh sweepstakes, right? This isn't over to me until I see him announced as the Giants thing. And I want to believe I'm on Team Harbaugh, but I'm just a little leery, regardless of what you're saying. I agree with all the points you make, but we're talking about an easy decision here. You already guys just said, why the fuck would he go to Atlanta? Why the fuck you go to Tennessee? Well, the fact that he's even entertaining those things tells me that he's interested in those teams, and he's not a guy that's going to fake interview with them. He's not going to say, oh, blah, blah, blah. He's going to say, you're a serious candidate. I want to see what you got and see if you can beat the Giants at this point, right? And if they do, and he says, fucking, I love it. You don't think Tennessee tomorrow is going to come with an offer that he can't refuse or whatever the fuck he is? They're coming in.
I'm honestly more scared of Atlanta than anything. I think Atlanta might, like, if you want me to be completely honest, if there's a team that's going to steal them, I think it's going to be the Falcons, because I think the Falcons are closer than the Titans and the Giants. The Titans and Giants has quarterbacks, but the Titans has a damn roster. You look at that defense, you look at that offense, they have a roster, and he has a relationship with Matt Ryan. So I totally understand the concern in your voice and in your thoughts too, because I have it too. I have it too, because I totally can see something where we wake up on a fucking random Saturday and it's all like John Harbaugh signs with Atlanta, never left the building type shit. What we wanted him to do for us. I feel that, Adam. I really do.
Well, look, Here's the
Go
thing,
ahead.
as I agree with you guys, like I said, obviously too. But the thing is, but the eight, like you said, he's been in Baltimore 18 years. Look, let's face it, whether we want to admit it, New York Giants job, I feel like it is the most, I think it is the most, most coveted job this offseason for coaches. I feel like, honestly, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Giants fan. I just feel like it just is, because it just is. But but Tennessee and Atlanta, I mean, these are intriguing locations for exactly what Zion said. I mean, Tennessee, they got a young quarterback too, who came on and late in the season and really started looking like that number one overall pick that he was. I mean, he started playing a lot better football as the season progressed. So they got that going on for him. And I mean, they don't have a lot more. They don't have a lot else. I mean, a whole lot else going on
They do
down
have
there in Tennessee.
$100,000
But
cap space.
they got a quarterback. You know what I mean? And then
Yes,
Atlanta,
they
like
do.
Zion said, I mean, they may not be as set as solidified at quarterback like Tennessee or the Giants are necessarily, depending on how you feel about Michael Penix. But at the end of the day, they got some pieces. Bijan Robinson, one of the absolute best running backs in the league. You got Drake London, one of the best wide receivers in the league. Yeah, I mean, you even had an emerging Kyle Pitts this past season, who probably had his best season as a pro this past year. I mean, so you got some pieces down there, and like you said, that defense also underrated defensive unit in Atlanta, by the way, very underrated. Uh, Also, so they got some things of intrigue. So you got to expect a guy like John Harbaugh to do his due diligence, and I can only respect that. I mean, I can only I understand exactly what you mean. It's best if we could just not let him get out the building and just boom bang bing. But a guy like John Harbaugh is going to do his due diligence. Let me pose another question to you guys, man. Uh, Okay, so it is Josh. Let's say Mike Tomlin comes out tomorrow, has a press conference or something, and says, "You know what? I absolutely want to be back on the sideline next year. I want to be coaching." And now he becomes a legit, once again, a viable coaching candidate as well. Where do you see him measuring with like a guy like John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I'm gonna just answer it real quick, and I'll let Adam go to follow up to answer two questions at the same time. I agree with Adam. Prior to this talk about John Harbaugh, when he said Kevin Stefanski, because I really do want Kevin Stefanski as a coach. If John does not get hired, I think he's my favorite candidate, and outside of him will probably be like a Vance Joseph. I really do think that Vance Joseph deserves a shot. I do like Mike, but I'm not McCarthy. I think he's respected what he did to Dak, but he just doesn't adapt to new school football. And I think, like Adam said, we kind of know what we get with him. So I don't really want him, but I wouldn't mind McDaniels. I love his energy. I love his system that he runs. I mean, like he comes from the Kyle Shanahan, you know what I'm saying? That one first heavy running game, attacking, utilizing his running backs. I really love his attitude in the media, but I don't think him jumping as a head coach again would be good. But I would love him as an offensive coordinator. And Adam said it perfectly too. I've been shouting Raheem Morris for our defensive coordinator, no matter who's our head coach, because Adam said it perfectly too. I don't think he's gonna get another shot that fast, but I can totally see him coming to the Big Apple and being our DC. I would love that. Now, getting to your question, Mike
I'm perfectly
Tomlinson will
fine with
be
that.
my yeah, Mike Tomlinson would be my number one. Obviously, respect John going into this talk when we had our shows on Premium Takes. When the Steelers fans started chanting "Fire Tomlin, Fire Tomlin," that's when I started posing the conversation of saying, "Hey, Mike Tomlin, head coach, New York Giants." It just totally makes sense. The Rudy, the Mara family, everything just aligns. And if it was like I don't think I think he has nothing's confirmed yet, right? So this is all hypothetical. I think he has a multi-year contract with Fox. I think he's gonna be at least for next year, he's gonna be a sideline, or not sideline, but a host or a reporter. But that being said, though, if he chooses, like Max said, the guy loves football. He just did an interview this past season before the season started. He told Matt McAfee that he wants to coach for a long time. He wants to be on the sidelines for as long as he can. And when he says that, what if he wakes up tomorrow and be like, "Fuck that! I'm a coach." Here's the problem with that, though. We have to buy him out of his contract because Steelers own his rights to 2027. So it's going to be a scenario where if we didn't have to buy him out of his contract or trade draft picks away, like kind of what the Broncos did for the Saints for Sean Payton, he would be number one on my list. But the reason why he would be number one, because I respect the fuck out of John, but I like Mike's energy. I think I like him. I would like him as a head coach. But the fact now we have to buy him on his contract and we have to give so much to get him. If he decides to coach again, I'm gonna still have John as my number one. But I would love Mike Tomlinson. But the thing is, he's on contract with the Steelers, so he stepped down. And I know Rudy just did a press conference. The Rudy family today, they're pretty devastated. But they got to move on. That's a franchise that literally only had like 4 coaches since like 1960s. So that's pretty fucking crazy. And who would have thought that Zach Taylor would be the last coach in that division? That's a boom, But that being said, though, things happen, and my number one's John. My number 2 would be Mike. But I think it's gonna.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's just gonna cost us too much to buy him out of his contract. But if we can give all of this to John, I just don't want to trade draft picks for a coach. I just don't want to when we have John like equal levels right there. 1A, 1B, doesn't matter. Flip it, vice versa. I think both of them will build the organization up. But I am so confident that John Harbaugh will be a head coach. And if he's not, I'm confident that and I don't want to call him a backup plan because Kevin deserves to be a head coach. Well, the Browns are fucking stupid. They make all these stupid choices. They force Watson on him. They force him to take 2 quarterbacks. Like, let the fucking coach. You know what I'm saying? And I just kind of feel like 2-time coach of the years for the Browns. Who wins there? Like Adam said, who fucking wins in Cleveland? Let's be real, bro. Like, I love Kevin, and if it wasn't for John, like Kevin would be my number 1 by 4. And I do like Cliff too. So Cliff's still there, but I don't think Cliff would make the lateral move. So I have to be a head coach. So I don't know. I think it's John or Kevin for me. Yeah, but I would love me some Tomlinson.
So to answer,
Cliff might not have no choice but to make a lateral move if he don't get a head coaching job. Shit, might not have no choice. Might not be an option.
I mean, yes, well, technically, that's what people are waiting on, right? Because when the job gets filled, who's going to be the next big coordinator? So, Cliff Kingsbury left. He might have to be an OC just because maybe some team doesn't hire him as a head coach. That's when you got to start to flesh out your roster because for guys like Tomlin and Harbaugh, I need a succession plan because, like you said, Tomlin had a grind. Right, and he grinded it out, and here he is. He's a little younger than John, but he's probably
10 years younger.
Wow,
10 years younger.
I know exactly.
Yeah. He's only 5 years older than me.
19 winning seasons. 19 winning seasons is insane.
He's 10 years younger. That means, John's at 63. That means he's at 53. That means you're still kind of in. Oh God. Anyways, let me just answer this. If he were available, he'd be top of my list because of that age, because of what he brings. And I think if there's somebody that would come to New York and really change the entire culture, that'd be the guy. He's never had a quarterback in Jackson Dart that was good. So I would love to see him do that. His defenses, he knows how to build great defenses. He knows how to motivate his men. So, and obviously you can tell the players love him and the team loves him. He had to resign. He didn't want to get fired. He had to step away. There's a difference. Now, if all things were equal, I would give up whatever they want. And because it's the Maras and the Rooneys, I don't think you'd be giving up much. If he said, I just want to step down, but I'd rather go to the Giants, and he's like, we own his rights, I don't think they'd fleece the Giants. I think they'd understand and, be reasonable about it. But if Harbaugh wasn't out, and Harbaugh was, let's say, winning and they were going to the next round or whatever, because I think they could have beaten the Texans. Let's say they beaten the Texans and gone to the next round, and Tomlin was out there. I'm putting all my chips in that basket. Now, I guarantee you they probably would have hired Stefanski because they brought him in first. I mean, let's be honest. We're talking about first with the Giants. Who would they bring in first for the interview? Kevin Stefanski. So I think they like that guy. Another guy I would bring in, I would love to see in the Giants that won't probably get the job is Brian Flores. I think he got the raw deal. I mean, obviously he's suing the NFL for the Rooney Rule, which, let's be honest, they need to do a better job of the Rooney Rule. I understand what it does and how it has helped players, people like, Tomlin and Bowles and Raheem Morris and guys like that. But it needs to be, it needs to be different. They need to tweak it a little bit. It shouldn't just be you have to suffice it. There should be a Rooney rule of some sort in place or whatever, however it may work. But my point is that, they don't need it shouldn't there should be more than that going on. So to me, Brian Flores would be another guy I'd be interested in. I think he's going to be the Pittsburgh head coach, to be honest with you. He already had Pittsburgh ties with their defensive coordinator position. I would love to have that guy if I couldn't get Stefanski. A lot of people are talking about Jeff Halfling. I don't know. My next guy after that would be Kingsbury. I think, again, I like what he's done with the young quarterbacks and Kyler Murray. I mean, let's be honest. We talk about the Browns. Who's won with the Arizona Cardinals? I mean, they were dog shit before Cliff Kingsbury got there. They became at least respectable when he was there, and they're now dog shit again, right? So that does matter to me in terms of, the division you play in and things like that. So he'd be another guy I'd look into on the coaching tree. And then everybody else is kind of like, a roll of the dice, so to speak. I don't want Jim Nagy here. Wouldn't want a guy like that or Smith or anything like that. Not even like Raheem Morris does entertain me. I don't think the Giants would do it. But those are basically my top 3 or 4. It goes Harbaugh. It would go Tomlin, Harbaugh, Stefanski, and then Flores and Kingsbury. Right. That's how I would rank my coaches if I didn't lose out, because there was a great point that No Mets made. What happens if they lose out on Stefanski, Harbaugh? Who would you turn to? You gotta bring in something that's going to motivate the fan base. And to me, I would turn right to a guy like Flores and say, "Come fix my team." He won in Miami, right? Which isn't saying much, but he won with a team that had no talent. He made them a talent team, right? And so, Cliff Kingsbury is another guy. Again, I would turn the reins over to if I was a Giants, because I think they need a guy, especially if the rumor is they're not changing the power structure. There you go, right? So we'll see. So this is a good discussion to have, an exercise.
But I think with Brian Flores is a hell of a name, and I love it, man. But everything I've been reading, man, it's like teams are spooked by Brian Flores right now, man. He's not getting the interest that you expect.
He was on a really good.
I guess he would be suggesting that he's not getting buzz, and I guess you're right. I don't know if the NFL lawsuit is there. Maybe that has something to do with it. But he is getting an interview with.
I apologize. I apologize for that fumble right there. That's why you shouldn't drink. That's why you shouldn't drink and stream. but Brian Flores, he's not getting the interest that I feel like he deserves. Well, you look at that Minnesota defense. That Minnesota defense, man, was just absolutely, especially down the stretch. That shit got turned to being downright scary. Now, I mean, what they were doing to teams down the stretch and late in this season, if they were playing like that all season long, man, they would have been a rock solid. They would have for sure been in the postseason. But I think teams just seem spooked out by him a bit. His case apparently is getting moved to the Supreme Court, and so I don't know, man, what to say about Brian Flores. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the situation that he's in right now that I just think teams seem to be a bit spooked out by him. But I agree, Adam. He is a more than viable candidate, and he should definitely be getting more looks than what he's getting. But can't believe I just did that shit live on camera. but anyway,
we all have our moments. I was talking. You were drinking.
That was good.
I guess this is what the Giants do to us, folks. This is what the Giants do to us, okay? If they would just sign Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, whatever the fuck his name is, we wouldn't be having these issues, okay? We would be all having a cigar saying, "Welcome back to New York Giant Pride." Instead, we're fumbling phones, coughing on air. The Giants drive us insane.
But as far as the Tomlin and the Harbaugh thing, though, between those guys, I just hold them in the same regard. I said it on a video I did the other day or yesterday or whatever. Yesterday, I guess I did it. I just hold these guys as the same status, man. To me, it's a win-win either way. You know, you're not losing with either one of these fucking guys. Mike Tomlin, all he does is win. Harbaugh, he's a winner. You know, these guys, they just win. And I don't think you. And to me, it's not a matter of teams truly interviewing them. They're interviewing the teams, motherfucker. Like, look, you tell me, like, what makes you believe that you're worthy of me being here? Yeah, obviously they're not. Those guys ain't gonna walk in there and act like that. But that's just the reality of what it really is, man. These are the kind of coaching candidates that you just don't see this every year. These ain't just a couple little hot shot coordinator guys that are some new guys on the block. No, these are proven leaders, head coaches, guys of major success for the last 2 decades. The Baltimore Ravens have been a standard in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers for far longer than that, and just it didn't slow down. I mean, you go from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher stepping in those shoes, and then Bill Cowher doing what he did with the Steelers, and then Mike Tomlin comes in and has to follow behind a Bill Cowher, and all he did was win for damn near 20 years. Like, I mean, it just, to me, I'm cool if you get one of those guys. Success, period, point blank and period. I'm fine. You get one of them. That's all that matters. Look, I am right now a little more hardball, only because right now, without the full commitment of Mike Tomlin and whether he really wants to be back on that sideline, usually sometimes when guys have those kind of reservations like that, it makes me a little skeptical. Like, is he really in it, or maybe he needs that little year off or something to kind of recharge his battery, whatever, because. Like you said, he's still a young guy. I mean, he's only 5 years older than me. Shit, me and Mike Tomlin was damn near in school together at the same fucking time. So shit,
So good.
He's still a young guy. He's got time. He takes a year off to figure out what he wants to do. But if they're both, I mean, either way, you end up with either one of those two guys, man, I'm fine. And just to speak on Kevin Stefanski briefly. It's hard to measure a guy based off of what he did in Cleveland, because the Cleveland Browns are an absolute mess of an organization. And, I mean, they had to pretty much buy the soul of Myles Garrett to even keep him on board this past season. So they're a shit show of an organization. It's hard to measure anybody. I mean, Bill Belichick failed in Cleveland. A lot of guys fail in Cleveland because Cleveland is a failing organization. Look at Baker Mayfield right now, and Cleveland had him. You know what I mean? Like, he's the top quarterback in the league, and Cleveland let that go. So it just goes to show you what kind of organization. It's hard to measure anybody from that. I think Stefanski is a solid coach, and I honestly, if things aren't to work out with the two big names right there that I mentioned, I'd be perfectly fine if Stefanski was also that guy, man. I'd be perfectly fine with that. What's going on, Tudo? Good to see you.
What
man.
up, Tudo? I wanted to say though, guys, I do have to run, but I'm sorry to leave in the middle of the show towards before we wrap. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing me on. It was so great talking about this, and I haven't been on much lately, but that's about to change. And PT will be back eventually. But I just wanted to thank you, Mac. Thank you, Adam. This is fun. Sorry to dip in the middle, but I do have to go do something. And I really, really appreciate you guys having me on, man. That was great fun talking. Hopefully, we get who we want in John Hobo.
Appreciate you popping on, bro.
Absolutely, brothers. You guys have a good one.
All right, man.
Late.
But Adam, real quick, like, I know a guy that you're high on it, Jeff Hadley, the Green Bay coordinator, man, defensive coordinator. He's not even on the Giants list, man. How do you feel about that? He's not even on the list of guys for the Giants of interest right now for the Giants. I don't know how you feel about that.
I guess because he was linked to the Giants so long, I'm surprised that he's not even getting an interview. They interviewed Minter, and I think they interviewed Shula. Or one of the two, and it was Shula and Kubiak. So it's kind of interesting that they didn't do that. I don't know if they know that he's going to Miami, because I think that's where he's probably going to end up being head coach out there. He's in Miami because they got the guy from Green Bay. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's him or LaFleur that end up in Dolphin land. So I don't know what's happening, but I think the Giants have done a hell of a lot of interviews, And it's kind of strange, if you ask me, because they're the one team that can somehow, hire anybody they want, and they're still doing interviews. And as of right now, Ian O'Connor, who is plugged in with Harbaugh, has said that Harbaugh has only met with the Giants in person, which means something. I don't necessarily know if it means anything because he wanted to bring teams to his house anyways. But John Mara obviously couldn't come out there. So if you want the entire ownership group to be there, he has to fly to New York. So keep that in mind when we are talking about this. But, I'm surprised Hafley wasn't one of the first. I thought he would be at least – I thought he might have been number one. But they brought in Kevin Stefanski. I think everything was pointing to Stefanski being the guy until Harbaugh shook loose. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'm pretty sure that Harbaugh will probably be a coach, but there's no guarantee, even with Atlanta and these teams lurking, if he leaves the Giants building and get a chance, they're going to do everything in their power to get him and do whatever they need to do. And if that means sell their soul to the devil, they'll do it. The Giants have to be able to figure out what it is that they're missing. So if they don't get him, I expect them to hire Stefanski immediately. As long as they get hired by Atlanta or Miami before then, which I don't think, if Harbaugh is really going back home to interview, I don't think Atlanta's going to hire anybody right now. And they just interviewed Antonio Pierce. I think the Titans did too. So these teams are getting lined up and gearing up. It's going to be a fun couple more days.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as part of Antonio Pierce, he also interviewed with the Giants already, and our interview went well. And I mean, I don't know how you feel. I'm definitely have no interest in that whatsoever. I just don't. I just don't see it. I don't see him being ready to become in and really truly lead a team. I don't know how you feel about Antonio Pierce. I don't want any parts of anybody with New York Giants ties. That's been the problem with New York Giants, continuously trying to bring in guys with New York Giant ties and New York history with the Giants. I don't want that. I want somebody to come in and make some new history for the New York Giants, not somebody that's already had history with the New York Giants. I don't know how you feel about that, Antonio Pierce.
Well, I don't believe it one bit, to be honest with you. I think it was a favor as a legacy. Rumor is that they wanted to put him on Harbaugh's staff. I think he needs to go somewhere and be a D coordinator first, but I'm not sure if that's here. But I would like to see him be a D coordinator and have some success there before I made him a head coach of the team. Is he a motivational guy? Yes. Do I have a place in my heart for Antonio Pierce being the last true linebacker and that wore 58? I mean, Bobby Okereke can't even hold Antonio Pierce's job when it comes to impact on the Giants. The only other guy that wore 58 better was Carl Banks. So to me, I like that, but I don't know if he's a head coach for the Giants, right? I think the Giants would want a little bit more seasoning. Like, let's say he was the Raiders DC and they fired their coaching staff, but his defense was pretty good. Then I could say, all right, he had a couple years being a DC. Let's try it out, right? I know he was a head coach technically in Arizona. So I think it was a favor, but I'm glad that it went well for him. I hope that this cycle he becomes on someone's staff. I think he deserves it. But there's an interesting candidate over in 49erville who keeps popping up, and it's intriguing to think about. And that's Robert Saleh. Like, I know he was with the Jets, and he had kind of a shitty stay with them, and it's going to leave a bad taste in his mouth. But his defenses were pretty good with the Jets. His defense is depleted now, and look where they're at, right? And imagine if he could bring in a Cliff Kingsbury and Mike McDaniels with him. I mean, Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniels. That's pretty intriguing to me as well. So that's another candidate that is interesting if you decided if you didn't get Harbaugh or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Saleh, I don't know how I feel about him as a head coach, but I mean, if there was a way to lure him away, man, and make that lateral move over here, I would be okay with that for sure. But I don't know about him as a head coach. I just feel like with the guys that are out there and available, I think we just got to do better. And I do agree here too, though, with your comment, man. Just got, like you say, we need a guy, man, that's been there and done that can just come in here and really make a true culture change to this team, man. So that's what I really want. I see when you see guys like Harbaugh out there, and potentially Tomlin, and even Stefanski, who like I said, I think is a wonderful coach, man. I just think it's just hard to really tell with a guy when he's dealing with Cleveland, the stink of Cleveland. So I just think there's just some strong. We got some strong candidates out there, man, and I'm excited. And hopefully by next week we'll know who the new coach of the New York Giants is going to be, man, because we do got to get this rolling because there's a lot of work to be done, point blank and period. Shout out to Jackson Dart being named as a nominee for Offensive Rookie of the Year, by the way, and see how that goes with him. I personally would say he deserves it, but there's a couple guys that made a strong case as well. So we'll see how that pans out, man. Any final thoughts before we get ready to wrap it up, Adam?
Nope. I think we just have to wait on the Harbaugh watch. Reports are he hasn't left, but again, we don't know if he's left or not. We'll see. And if he is a man of his word, which I don't like, the last thing I'll say is if you like a job and you want a job, I don't need to pretend with these other organizations. I can just give them the job and say, here you go. The fact that the Titans haven't hired Jim Nagy yet or whatever, and they're waiting for Harbaugh, and Atlanta is trying to bring in Stefanski as well to interview him as well. They're getting their ducks in a row in case shit happens as well. But we just need to hope and pray that these teams don't wow him and, court him and don't make it seem like they're desperate to get this done. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The next 24 to 48 hours should be interesting.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited. It's a good time. It's a good time to be a Giants fan right now. I'm actually excited for what's to come, man. And we'll see, man. But I want to thank you once again for tuning in to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I'm not sure if we're back next week or not. It depends how much news. If there's some legit more news, like coming out, coaching news or whatever, anything just breaking big time news with any of the other teams, you know what I mean? Whatever. Then probably can count on us being back next week. But if not, maybe not. May come on, do a little Super Bowl special or something like that. We'll figure it out, man. Put our heads together, figure some things out, and get you guys caught up on what to expect. But we do definitely appreciate y'all coming out tonight once again and joining us for this little hour, 90 minutes of talking a little bit of talk, man. This Giant coaching search is heating up. And I'm excited, man. And make sure you go my page. Make sure you like, subscribe. Go to Adams and do the same thing. Hit that like, subscribe on the stream, man, and subscribe to his channel. Help continue to help the channels grow. Thank you. Shout out to Zion Zenith. Go to his channel as well and hit the subscribe button on his channel, man. Just continue his growth. Like you said, we're back with the Premium Takes podcast soon. And like I said, we're kind of in that off-season mode where we're not going to necessarily be coming at you every week, but we'll be coming back at you, man. You can believe that. So we appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's been a great season. Another year of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. Basically in the books, the NFC East is a done deal for this season. And we'll be back. You'll be seeing us around, man. I'm Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Peace.
Oh, shit. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan.